Today, we have chosen to return to a subject which in no way loses value in the life of an initiate. It is about prayer. What is prayer? Why should we pray? To whom the prayer is directly addressed? And how to pray? These are the questions that we will try to answer in this lecture.
Welcome to the channel Dialogue of Dr. Yaluka. To begin, please subscribe and tick the notification bell in order not to miss our videos. Thank you for joining.
The theme of our lecture is prayer in African traditional religion. What is prayer? To pray is generally to appeal to the divine celestial beings for help to solve our problems. Prayer can, however, take many forms. For example, it is said that to sing is to pray twice. We are shown that righteous joy is a prayer. The history of devotion also teaches us that gratitude is a powerful prayer, etc. In terms of spiritual awareness, to pray is to entertain thoughts of divine love and truth and to reject suggestions that are opposed to them. Why pray? One of the concepts dictated by systematic natural theology, thanks to the community cosmological argument, is that of free will. Nzambi Amfungu Tulendo, the Most High God, endowed his children with free will as consequences of his nature as truth and love. Heaven and the heavens are scrupulously respectful of our free will. Thus, those who do not call for help will not be helped, and this out of respect for their free will. Hence, the necessity of prayer for those who need the assistance of celestial beings. To whom prayer are directly addressed. African traditional religion has an exact science teaches us the notion of the transcendence of the Most High. This notion implies that not only is God above all things, but also that he knows no evil. The notion of transcendence does not only involve the Most High, but also the children of God who have not yet created their respective universes, that is, the potential creators. Prayer is therefore not addressed directly to these transcendent divinities. The highest deities to whom our prayers are directly addressed are therefore the effective creators. Bumbaloa being one of them, the creator of this temporal universe. Prayer and the hierarchy of the divinities. Two other notions of divine science crucial in the art of prayer are those of the hierarchy of divinities, and the solar trinity. Solar trinity implies that the higher divinities always act through the lower one through the Logos, the activity of the fullness of the Most High in the latter. The closest gods by whom our prayers are answered are therefore our holy ancestors. Systematically, prayer includes the following 5 points. Firstly, the purification of thoughts, calling the holy ancestors, the fight against witchcraft, argumentative play, protection of prayer, purification. The Congo myth of Mahungu teaches us that it is through disobedience to Nzambi, God, that is, through the misuse of free will, that separation occurred between human beings and their divinity. Thus, purification is an essential process for our re-immersion into our divinity and for our communion with the higher divinities. Purification is mental. Our ancestors often used the purification through ablution rituals. Since we approach African traditional religion in its universality, we retain the mental process of purification. It implies asserting one's purity in the past, the present, and the future. The basis of this purification process is the fact that the supposed power of sin is the belief that it can do us good. By curbing this belief, we rise above sin's claim to enslave us and cause disease or any anomaly. Let us speak now about the purification process. Practically, you can do it by addressing your holy ancestor this way. Lord, by saying Lord, you mean the highest holy ancestor who attends to your prayer. Lord, I know because you know that in me, you know it in me that I'm pure. I've always been pure, and I shall always be pure. Sin never had power to be good. Therefore, it cannot have power to separate me from my holiness. Therefore, I'm pure. I've always been pure, and I shall always be pure. The first time you will be using this process. By the time you say, I'm pure, I've always been pure, and I shall always be pure, you will see a lot of past thoughts of sin coming to you and telling you, and what about this? What about that? The third thing you have to do is to recognize sin. I don't say that you have to recognize yourself as a sinner. No, I say you have to recognize that sin. When someone is doing mathematic exercises and he makes a mistake, the first thing to do is to detect and recognize the mistake. If he recognizes the mistake, he's a good mathematician because he can apply the correct answer. So is it with you. If you recognize that, oh, that was bad, But at the same time, you recognize that you are a child of God. So you say, oh, yes, that was bad. But that sin never did me good. And because it never did me good, it cannot separate me from God. So by this way, you will be rising above sin. The more you will be praying this way, the less past souvenirs of sin will be coming. I know that you can fall again. The bad thing is not to fall, but it is to remain down when we have been falling. We have to rise and make a step ahead. If we do this, we will less and less falling, and finally we will be running toward the spiritual goal. This is a simple but practical process that you can use. Second point of prayer, call of holy ancestors. There are three kinds of ancestors, and these should be known, especially in the diaspora. We have the divine ancestors, the human ancestors, and the demonic ancestors. But what interests us in prayer is the holy ancestors, the divine ones. It is important to know this distinction because not every ancestor is a saint, a holy ancestor. For example, I will never call the Gregory a holy ancestor. He is a human ancestor. He was using fasting as a means of fighting for the black people. But I will call Harry Tubman, a holy ancestor due to his strong faith in God. So there are human ancestors and holy ancestors. It is very important to distinguish this. Sometimes people will ask me, how do I know that such and such a person was a holy ancestor? And my answer is ask yourself the question, if that person was here present with me, will I go to him to pray for me to solve a problem? If the answer is yes, then you can consider him or her as a holy ancestor. In the call of the saint, the holy ancestors, I prescribe the schema provided by the Congo prophet Simon Kimbangu in his prayer at Mbanza Sunday. Here is it. Prayer to you, the angels of the heavenly throne, the source of our existence. Prayer to you, the seven angels of the court of the Most High. Prayer to the east, prayer to the west. Prayer where the sun rises, prayer where the sun sets. Prayer to you, Bubaloa, the God creator. Prayer to you, Pinlanza, the Logos, the God governor. Prayer to the angels that govern earth, fire. Prayer to the angels that govern water and air. Prayer to the great spirits of my ethnic group. If you are in the diaspora and you haven't done a DNA test, you probably don't know your ethnic group. That doesn't matter. You can just say, prayer to you, my highest divinized ancestor. Any ethnic group in the motherland have its divinized highest ancestor. In ancient Egypt and in Sumer, that highest divinized ancestor of every district was called the dead god. So if you don't know him, not problem, just say my highest divinized ancestor. After calling the holy ancestor, we pause to indicate expectation or waiting. The initiate explained the necessity of this pause by saying that the holy ancestor come from far away. That is, they come from a state of consciousness very far from ours. However, this pause is not measured by the number of minutes or seconds that we spend there, but rather by the fact that we became conscious of having waited. Next point, the fight against witchcraft. We designate by witchcraft the use of evil spirits with the aim of harming, destroying, stealing, and killing. That is, hexes and curses. We therefore reject any assimilation of African traditional religion to witchcraft. Even if demonic practices can be used in the event of war to protect the black nation, which in fact is an exception to the rule. The fight against witchcraft includes these points. Firstly, the negation of the belief in evil spirits. Witchcraft is based on the belief in evil spirits. We must therefore affirm by addressing our holy ancestors. I know, Lord, because you know it in me, that you are the only true spirit who governs me and governs the so-called witch. We say so-called because for us he is not a witch, he is the child of God. It is he who sees himself as a witch, not us. I know, Lord, because you know it me, that you are the only true spirit who governs me and governs the so-called witch. Hence, there are no other spirits that can govern me, control me, and govern and control the so-called witch. Next point, negation of the belief in hypnotism. Hypnotism. To act, witchcraft divine, deceives our vigilance through charm and our domination. We must therefore argue against this process by affirming this. I know, Lord, because you know it in me that you are my only soul, my immortal and omnipresent divine consciousness. Neither charm nor domination have the power to separate me from this pure spiritual consciousness. Next, negation of the belief in evil suggestions. To act, witchcraft sends us bad suggestions. We can counter them by affirming, I know, Lord, because you know it in me that you are the only mind, the only source of my thoughts and of the thoughts of the so-called witch. Hence, there are no other minds from which bad suggestion can come to me. Negation of witchcraft. Addressing witchcraft at this point we are fear, you witchcraft. You have neither power, nor reality, nor intelligence. You are nothing. Warning. The warning must be based on love and consists of asking God to open the eyes of the so called witch so that she understands that the evil he does to others react against himself and that witchcraft leads to death. We can formulate the warning in the following manner. Lord, open the eyes of the so-called witch so that he knows that the harm he does to others come back to himself with 70 times more force, and that witchcraft leads him to death right now. Hence, he had better give up. Asking God to kill the witch, as many does, is an act of hatred that must be abandoned. We must rather use warning, which is an act of love. Argumentative play. In many Bantu languages, the same word is used to say to plead before a court of law and to say to pray. In Kikongo, the Congo language, this word is samba. Praying for our ancestor is therefore like arguing one's case in a court of law, that is, in the court of the holy ancestors. Bad argumentation can hinder the expectation of prayer. The argument must be based on the spiritual facts of being. Hence, the plea is based on the fact that the Most High wanted us in His image and likeness. So we are now in reality pure and perfect, children of God. We therefore have the right to reject everything that is contrary to our divine nature. Let me here give you an example of an argumentative play I used once I was sick. I was suffering of diarrhea for many months. I have lost almost half of my weight, but at the peak of the disease, I began to give away blood. So it was a bloody diarrhea, which caused the surrounding to be afraid. So I took the last mental energy that remained in me and I prayed to the holy ancestor saying, I know that you are my life. I know that life is not in the blood. Life doesn't depend on the blood, but the blood depends on life. And life is eternal and omnipresent. I know that there is only one flow, the divine flow, the flow of love and truth. And there is no other flow in me. You alone governs my body. You alone controls me. And my body is spiritual, not material. It is not made of limited things, but of infinite spiritual qualities. love, truth, power, joy, etc. So I maintained this affirmation after 3 days of red blood. It stopped completely and I was completely healed. You don't let your prayer hanging. After having prayed, you must protect your prayer. In the hand, we must protect our prayer by affirming that it is God Himself who prayed in us, and that this prayer is irresistible, and acting right now. In conclusion, the prayer based on the purification of thought, which addresses holy ancestors, curb belief in witchcraft, and plead for the perfection of human being as the image and likeness of God, is the tool, the most high, the most powerful in the practice of African traditional religion. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share. More on this subject can be found on my books available at Amazon.